Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's June 29th, 2014, and this week we're going to do a lesson on Jimi Hendrix's lead guitar concepts. This question was sent in from Danny. He's out in Mays Landing, New Jersey, and he wrote in with this email. For the last few months, I've been getting into Jimi Hendrix. My question has to do with three things he does in his lead playing. First, he seems to use a lot of quick hammer-on pull-offs when he plays his solos. Second, he jumps across strings in very odd ways using broken rhythms. And third, he uses double stop chords quite differently with hammer-ons and pull-offs. Could you go and demonstrate some of Jimi's lead playing techniques in a lesson? From Danny in Mays Landing, New Jersey, USA. Well, hey, thanks for writing in, Danny. Now, first of all, I'm glad that you were the one who went and handpicked a small collection of techniques to cover from Jimi's legendary guitar playing style. Jimi had a lot of influential guitar techniques that he used, from his signature vibrato to his octaves and double stops, his innovative rhythms, the thumb and the bass chords he did, the feedback he used, and the extreme whammy bar use, not to mention his sound effects. But all that aside, in this video, I'll stick with the points you've mentioned, and I'll do my best to break down these unique elements involved with Jimi Hendrix's lead guitar concepts. In my first examples, I wanted to begin with a quick demonstration of how a typical pentatonic scale run that you'd find in the common classic rock applications might be really changed up and revamped when you go into the Hendrix approach of the same group of scale tones. So here's a very basic key of A minor pentatonic scale run that you might hear in one of your standard classic rock songs. Here's again. Okay, now here's my demonstration of how that lead guitar line I just played might become altered in a more Hendrix style of approach. Again. As you can tell, there are several major differences between the way these two lead guitar ideas get played. The first example was pretty basic in both its scale tone selection and its rhythmic concepts. It was pretty much all just eighth notes. But the second one, the revamped Hendrix style example, really has a different timing to it. There's lots of the use of the 16th-note triplets, and there's grace notes, slides and stuff. So it's really, taking on a lot more embellishments. And they're unique embellishments too. That first hammer-on pull-off idea, that's the 16th-note triplet's pretty basic. And then the second one, though, is kind of interesting. How he's tagging the same note there and then sliding into that note. You'll notice him do that with a lot of his licks. And, it's a very interesting sound. This is all part of that Hendrixing up of your lead parts. So to keep something in mind, remember how to do these embellishments, put them into your playing, use the 16th-note triplets, the hammer-on pull-off ideas, and those unique ways of sliding. And we're going to talk about a few other things as we go along here. So let's carry on to the next examples. In my next Hendrix-style idea, I'm applying two of Jimi's favorite lead concepts. These are going to be his extensive use of bends during a performance of his lines. And as well, we're going to look a little bit more into the world of performing triplets, but this time we're going to slow things down with the triplets. We're going to do some eighth note triplets now, and I've included a unique sort of broken scale approach that he used and made really his sound stand out from others of his time. So here's how this idea sounds. First, I'm going to play it slowly. It starts with a bend, goes across some upper tones of the minor pentatonic. Then we're going to have a bend again on the first string 8th fret, bending that C up to a D. Coming back to the root, an A, and then we're going to have something really interesting here. It's kind of a disjointed group of scale tones. See that? It's a really interesting sound when you're breaking those tones apart, especially with that bend. You can hear that bend is kind of going over top of that flat 5, Here's the whole lick now. You really hear that really disjointed thing too, where the notes are almost hit in a real staccato manner. So keep that in mind when you're trying to create your own Hendrix style licks. It's a big part of his approach. But let's keep moving along. As you can tell, from that last lick I just played, Hendrix liked to step around the scale tones, hitting each scale degree kind of outside of the more linear approach that was used by most of the guitar players of that time. And one of his other unique scale ideas focused around the application of the bend technique. Now, Hendrix would often bend and then quickly release a note right to its standard fretted pitch. Had a really neat sound to it, and I have a guitar lick here that's a real typical Hendrix sound, and something that probably you'll recognize. Goes like this. Now you can hear too when I do that hammer-on pull-off. It's another 16th note triplet here in this lick. Look how he goes vertically across like that. That's a really popular Hendrix idea. So just a sort of a different way to approach going through the pentatonic, because a lot of times people will think very linear through the pentatonic. But the way he did it, it was really kind of different. It was more of a vertical approach with a lot of notes. And you can hear there too. I should mention that he really liked Dorian mode. You probably noticed that note if you're familiar with Dorian in almost every one of these licks. But again, that F sharp coming in on the A minor sound. So nice lick. Now, in my final example, I'm placing the focus on Hendrix's unique application of the two-note double stop runs and his horizontal use along the fingerboard through the pentatonic scale with that idea. It's a really interesting sound, big part of his style. So I wanted to take a look at this very common, Jimi Hendrix lead guitar sound with these double stops and how he used them in his lead sections. And it goes without saying that when we're exposed to this double stop sound, it's almost like whether he does it or any other guitarist does it in almost any guitar solo, we're instantly hit with that feeling, where we're kind of saying to ourselves, oh, that's a Hendrix lick, So this is a pretty classic sound of his, and it's a good one to get used to. You could do it with the minor pentatonic, like I was just demonstrating. You could also do it with the major pentatonic, which he really favored that scale a lot as well. You're going to hear that sound and all those major pentatonic licks. And that's what this lick is going to be doing. Here it is again. So you can hear it in there too when I do that hammer-on pull-off lick. We're again using the notes below this time. So, you keep that in mind with the way you approach these hammer-on pull-off ideas. This is again another 16th note triplet idea in there. Keep it in mind for how you structure these Hendrix sounding licks on the neck, because he liked those lower notes when he was doing the double stops. So here's this lick one more time. Final lick. Well, as you've just seen, when it comes to Hendrix's hammer-ons and pull-off applications, he was a pretty big fan of those 16th note triplets and their sound. And, this idea combined with both broken scale tone use, syncopated rhythms, double stop chords, and his wide vibrato and everything else created much of the foundation of his sound. But as we all know, there were many other concepts unique to the Hendrix approach. So I guess, let's be honest here, trying to make a single video covering what made Jimi Hendrix's lead playing unique probably isn't possible in the time that we have here. Jimi was an innovative player, plus a great songwriter. So rather than go on and on, I'll just leave you in saying that it's well worth your time and effort to study his playing, because there's a lot to learn from how Jimi Hendrix played this instrument. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.